Hi everybody, sanibonani, welcome to my channel. Igama lami nguNtando Mdletshe, and on this channel siyazifunde iy'ncwadi ey'bhalwe ngolimi lwethu lwesiZulu bese siza la sikhuluma ngazo. Iy'ncwadi esuke siy'fundile senzela laba phela abasuke bengenaso isikhathi sokufunda iy'ncwadi nalabo abasuke benqanda nje ukufunda. Siyaphinda futhi sibuka ama-reality shows ethu ala eMzansi bese siza la sokhuluma ngawo lama shows, senza ama-reviews, ama-recaps bese siyaphinda futhi sikhuluma any other issues avukayo uma ngabe lama shows sesiwabukile kwi-TV. Uma ngabe uqala usijoyina namhlanje and you really like our content, do not forget to press the subscribe button la ngezansi bese upressa i-notification bell ukuze phela uthole umyalezo uma ngabe umsebenzi omusha sesiwufakile. Namhlanje na-ke, I just want to go through an interview, or was it a sit down or a tell all kaMohale, bathini iMohale on the record. What I'm going to do is, instead of going through everything that was said in an interview, I made points out 10. So I'm going to talk about 10 things that I think are very important that came up with interview, and how Mohale responded to these questions. And I will explain what is the reason that I picked each of these things that I picked for this interview. Guys, I think it was a really, really good interview. The interviewer was really good at, I think he did watch their show, so he knows the things that went on their reality show since that they met. Usomizi Mohale, I think he followed them, so he really did his background check. So you could see that this is a sit down with somebody that knows the important things that happened between Mohale and Somizi. So he was really asking relevant questions, questions that I wanted to know, and questions that I assumed that other viewers wanted to know. So it really was a really good sit down. I understand why Showmax did this show, because I think that obviously they did that reality show with them. They did their reality show with them, and they also did the special for their wedding, and then they did this season of their show without Mohale, where Usomizi got to tell his side of the story. So I think that it really just made sense for Showmax to give Mohale an opportunity as well to tell his side of the story. Anyway, you guys, so I'm going to start by talking about the 10 points that I thought were very important when it came to this interview. By the way, at the beginning of the interview, they introduced his family, his mom and dad. I've never seen them actually. His mom and dad and his siblings. He looks like he has a very loving family. He has a really strong family background or family foundation, and I really liked seeing that as part of the interview. And it looks like in his family, education is something that is very important, and Umawak and Wabwake are very educated as well. So it was good to just get that background information about Umuhale. So the first thing, you guys, that I thought was important that he talks about right at the beginning of the sit down is he says that he confirms that yes, he is gay. Okay, he's not bisexual, he is gay. Why did I think that this information was important is because back then when Umuhale, they got together with Usomizi, a lot of the people said that Mohale was not really gay. They did say that Mohale was not gay. They said that he's just pretending because he wants to be with Usomizi, so that ezodla imali kaSomizi or whatever. He looked not so interested in Somizi. He just wanted imali. He wasn't really gay. And there were even people saying that he has girlfriends, Ulukuzana Umuhale. So yes, he did confirm that he is gay, but he does say that at some point during his high school days, he used to have a girlfriend, because that was at the time that he was learning himself and he wasn't sure really about his sexuality. And also he said he did think about being in relationships with women because he is somebody that wants kids. He would love to have kids in the future, but it's not because he was bisexual. No, he's not attracted to women. He is only attracted to men. And the next one, which is number 2, is a lot of the people had said that, and even in the show, in the last season of Somizi's show, the mother of Somizi's child, Somizi's daughter Ubahomi, had said that Umuhale was a fan ka Somizi, and they said that that relationship was never going to work because it wasn't an equal relationship. It was a celebrity and a fan. And Umuhale says that that is not true. He actually wasn't a fan of Usomizi. He also clarifies that actually the way that they met, him and Somizi, was not because he wanted to go and get his book signed by Usomizi, but it was his cousin that had come into the country that had bought Incwadi Somizi and bought one for him as well. The cousin was the one who actually knew about the signing, and he went with his cousin. So his cousin was actually the one that was really a fan of Somizi. But he's not saying that he did not know Somizi. He said he knew Somizi, and he admired the way that Somizi could freely just be himself. But he says no, that wasn't the case. It wasn't somebody that was a fan of Somizi that ended up dating Somizi. And then number 3, they did ask him if he did watch season 5, because we all know that Somizi's last season of the show was all about Mohale. Like Mohale was mentioned more than anybody on the show. So he was asked if he did watch the season, and he said that he did not. But obviously, people will tell him what is happening on the show, and a lot of the things that they will tell him what is happening on the show or is being said on the show will shock him. I find that to be hard to believe, honestly, you guys, because I think that he would be interested to know what Somizi is saying on the show. And there are things he talks about later on during this sit down that I felt like if you did not watch the show, how did you really know about these things? So this is the one question where I felt like I wonder if it's true, or maybe he means he didn't like sit down and watch the show. He will only watch when people would say this was said about you on the show, or this happened that concerns you on the show. I just found it hard to think that he did not watch the whole of that season when all of it really was about him. But that is what he says. He says he didn't really watch the show, but people will tell him all the time about the things that were being said on the show regarding him. And then you guys, he was also asked about them in detail about how they met after that initial meeting at the book signing. What happened after that? They exchanged numbers. What happened? And he clarifies, you guys, that actually Usomizi was the one that really pursued Umuhale. And he says that he did not give Usomizi his number at that book signing, but Usomizi was on in his DMs sending. He says he would do pic mix, after pictures and say that this is how we will look on our wedding day. I don't know how that is taken. Guma relationships I'm a gays, guys, but I think if I met somebody just once and then the next thing they send me a picture of me and him and saying that this is how we're gonna look on our wedding day, I will freak out because I will think you don't even know me. How are you talking about wedding days when you don't even know me? And he says, of course, that surprised him that he did that, but he didn't take it that serious, But yes, Somizi did really pursue him. He indicated that he was the one that really wanted a relationship with him. But guys, as the time goes on, he does express that yes, he did fall in love with Somizi. He was in love. He also wanted the relationship to work. So it's not like just because Somizi was the one that pursued him that he never loved him. No, he fell in love with him. He wanted the relationship to work. He was excited too for their future, and he was excited too for their life after the wedding. So he does say that yes, he was in love. So number 5, again, they ask about Vusinova, you guys, because as we all know, in this last season, Vusinova almost came back to the show. It's like Babeshinjana, no, Muhale, because when Muhale was around, Vusinova, we didn't really see Vusinova much on the show. And when Muhale left, Vusinova then came back to the show. Like he basically just became a cast member on the show. So The interviewer asked Mohale ukuthi, does he know ukuthi uVusinova said what he said on the show? How was their relationship, because on the last season Vusinova does say he didn't like Mohale, and he didn't think that he was good for Usomizi, but he tolerated him because his friend loved him. So uMuhale may respond lapho, he says ukuthi, you know what, that surprised him, uMuhale, because honestly when Muhale was around, Vusinova was not around that much with Usomizi. So Usomizi with Vusinova were not that close when Muhale was around. And he says that he can even count the number of times that Vusinova was at their house. He says it's like maybe 3 times that he was at their house. So he doesn't know where does he get into ukuthi he didn't like him. And also Vusinova had said Usomizi had changed when he was dating uMuhale. And uMuhale says but that might have been the fact that at the time Vusinova and Somizi were not close when him and Somizi were together. So he might have felt like Somizi is different because of that. They were not spending a lot of time together. And guys, honestly, when we look back at it, I think when we started noticing how close Somizi was to Vusinova, it was when Mohale and Somizi were going through a breakup. I remember even people talking about suspecting that Vusinova no Somizi are together. That is the reason that they had broken up with Mohale. So it does make sense that Mohale says that when he was there, they were not that close. They only got close after. So he doesn't understand Vusinova saying that he did not like him because they never really spent that much time together. But he does say that, but he understands that at the end of the day, they have to defend their friend because they are not Mohale. Vusinova is not Mohale's friend. He is Somizi's friend. So then they move on to number 6, you guys, because there was that claim by Mohale to say Somizi wanted them to bring another person into their relationship so that they could potentially have a threesome. And Mohale does confirm that. He confirms that yes, that was something that Usomizi suggested. Remember when they took a trip to Amsterdam with Utami, their friend, and there was that Orlando guy that we were not sure when we were watching the show whether Usomizi was dating this guy or not, but at the same time there was already Mohale and he was getting engaged to Mohale, but there was this guy that was very close with Somizi. He says that on that trip, actually, at some point, Somizi did ask him, would you be open to us having a threesome? And he said, he asked Somizi, what do you mean? Why would you ask me that right now? And he said, he suggested, he said, it's because I think we should bring Orlando into our relationship so that we could have a threesome. So he confirms, yes, Somizi did suggest that, but he wasn't open to that. Yeah. He does say with that relationship with that guy, Orlando, it did make him uncomfortable because he knew that before he got together with Somizi, they were talking, Somizi and this guy were talking, and they wanted to pursue a relationship. And the only thing that stopped the two of them from pursuing this relationship was because Mohale was now around. So the interviewer does ask him if he thinks that Usomizi at any point did get into a relationship with this Orlando guy. He says Mohale, as far as he knows, that he never did. But he does mention, you guys, that during that trip, at some point, he got irritated and tired and he wanted to go home because this guy also was around with Somizi. He just wanted to go and sleep. So he went back to the hotel to sleep and left Somizi with Tammy and this guy, and they only came back in the morning. So obviously, he doesn't know what happened with Somizi and this guy. So then they move on to the fact that Usomizi was viewed as somebody that was 100% providing for Mohale. What was his plans? Did he work Kulukuzana Mohale? Mohale says when he met Somizi, actually he had a job and it was a 9 to 5 job, and But once they got into a relationship, they were traveling a lot. And there was a point where they were supposed to take a trip together, but he had run out of leave at work. So when he asked to take time off, his boss said, no, you cannot take time off because you do not have leave. And he had expressed that to Somizi. Somizi was not happy about it. And he found out to Muhali that Somizi had secretly sent an email to his boss, asking his boss to release Umuhale so that he could go on this trip. It says that after that email, which made him uncomfortable actually, and he didn't understand. Imagine your partner sends an email to your boss, and he says after that email, he insisted that he resigns because he felt like the trip that they needed to take overseas was very important and they couldn't cancel it. The hotels were booked, the plane, the flights were booked, so they could not cancel that trip. So he ended up resigning from his job. Also, he says that one of the things Usomizi will say was that, you know what, there's a lot of opportunities that will come your way anyway, so you don't have to worry about this particular job. So he quit his job. So he says that the person that did not, what surprised him afterwards was that when he was trying to find gigs here and there so that he could work, because now he didn't have a 9 to 5, so Mizi really didn't want him to find work. He says that in fact that story about Utitimba speaking to somebody in the industry to stop them from giving Umuhale a job is true. He says that Somizi, because he was going to get this job in the industry, and Somizi spoke to Titimba in secret and so that UTT can speak to these people that were going to give Mohale a job so that they wouldn't give Mohale a job. Mohale found out about it, confronted Utitimba, and Utitimba didn't have a choice but to say why he did that. Utitimba actually told Mohale that it was Somizi who asked him to do that. Actually, Umuhale sort of gives an indication that that's actually one of the reasons why Usomizi and Titimba are no longer friends because of that. Because Titi was not supposed to reveal to Muhale that he had been sent by Somizi to tell the people to not give Muhale a job, because Somizi wanted a house husband. He didn't want a husband that worked, especially he didn't want a husband that worked in the industry. But he does say that Umuhale Yena, he wanted to work. In fact, there were opportunities. He says after they had taken the trips that they had taken and they were back, there were opportunities for him to do influencing work, but it seemed like Somizi really didn't want that. Okay. And then they move on to the big accusation, which was about the physical abuse. And he goes on to give details about this one incident where he had gone to Devon and really when he came back, he thought that he was going there to work. So he thought when he comes back, they're going to be excited talking about this exciting thing that he had done. But when he came back, Somizi was mad about where he had been. So I don't know if Somizi maybe thought that Umuhale was cheating where he was. But he just got mad. He says that at some point when he went to the bedroom to take off his clothes, Usomizi was holding a champagne bottle and he started throwing the champagne on him. And then that's where he started to beat him on Mohale. Mohale doesn't indicate whether when Somizi was beating him, he fought back in any way. It sounded that it was Somizi beating Umuhale. And he doesn't give details of how, whether he was beating him with the fist or kicking him or whatever. But he says that he was beating all over his body, especially his ribs. He actually thought that he had broken one of his ribs because this area was very painful and he couldn't move. So he dragged himself down the stairs to get to his car keys and ran out of the house. When he ran out of the house, Somizi was there in his car trying to block him with with his car. So eventually he got away and then he drove to this doctor that was his friend so that he could get some help. But the interviewer does ask specifically at some point if this was the only incident that took place where physical abuse would happen. He says no, there were others, let me say, there were other incidences, and he said it was more than twice that happened. He does say here that the friend Utami, remember the friend that they had gone to Amsterdam with? I think that season when Usomizi and Mohale are getting engaged, Utami is actually part of the cast, Yeshoga Somizi. So Utami knows what happened because Utami was the one that called Umuhale to say, my friend really wants you back. He's really apologetic about what happened. He says it will never happen again. So he says Tami knows what happened. The interviewer does go into asking Umuhale about the friendship Kasomi's, Tami, how it is now. And he says that they're no longer friends, but he's not sure what happened. But one thing that he knows is that Utami was one of the people that was supportive about their relationship, and also Utami is one person that knew about the abuse that was taking place in their relationship. So then they move on to number 9, which is the accusation or the claim that Mohale had cheated in the relationship. Mohale admits that yes, he cheated in the relationship. He says that there must have been maybe like 3 months into a relationship. He says it was something stupid and irresponsible. No, he said it was selfish. He said he was very selfish. It's something he's not proud of, and it really hurt him to see Usomizi hurt like that. So he said the way Somizi found out about it, he had called a friend that was with him at the time to find out who Mohale was with, so he didn't have a choice but to admit that he had cheated. And yeah, that sounded like it was something that Mohale is not proud of that he did, but he does admit that yes, he cheated early on in the relationship. And they go into because he is asked about the divorce now, that they're going through a divorce, and did he ask for 50% of Somizi's money, Somizi's properties, Somizi's everything? And he clarifies, you guys. I think for me that was really a big one. Remember, I even did a video when I was reviewing that show, and I say I really don't believe that Mohale did ask for 50%, you guys, because there was no evidence, and nobody had ever really heard Mohale say that he wants the 50%. It was just so easy that it was trying to convince us that Mohale wants the 50%. So Umuhale, they actually showed us, guys, the copy of the letter that was sent by the lawyers to Somizi or to Somizi's lawyers initially by Umuhale, because it sounds like Umuhale is the one that initiated the divorce. So on that letter that was sent to Somizi, it clearly states that the only thing that Mohale said he wanted was his clothes. He said he wanted his clothes. He said he wanted the car. There was a car that Usomizi had damaged when they were having a fight, and Usomizi was driving Umuhale off the road somewhere because they were fighting. And he also said he wanted the money that they had made from the special show that they did for their wedding. So those are the things that he said he wanted. He said when it came to properties and all of that, a person was supposed to walk out with whatever belonged to them, and also the pensions, the provident funds, they were not supposed to charge each other's pensions and provident fund. It's actually on the document, you guys, that they actually showed on that sit down. They showed us, that's what it said. So Umuhale says that that's all that he had said he wanted. All of his clothes back, this car that was damaged, or at least the repair of the car or whatever, the replacement of the car, and also the money that is still sitting with Legend, the producer that was doing their wedding show. So then it says they sent the letter to Somizi, and then the reply was surprising to them, because when the Somizi's lawyers replied back to them, they are the ones. Why am I getting a car? He says that they are the ones that requested for 50% split of the assets. So when Somizi's lawyers came back with a reply, they were the ones that suggested that they do a 50-50 split of the assets. So he never asked for it. It's Somizi that offered it. Okay. For me, you guys, that was a biggest shock. What really confused me is why Somizi would lie about that. I do understand that a lot of the things that he probably has allegedly lied about when it comes to his relationship with Mohale. He probably thought Mohale is not going to get an opportunity to speak out like he has right now. But with the 50% thing, I just don't understand why he would lie about it. And also, I don't understand what would be the reason for his lawyers. Because if Mohale has said, just give me my clothes and my car, and that money for the show, which really belongs to him, why would his lawyers suggest something that he wants, that Mohale is the one that wants 50%. I'm confused there by why Somizi's lawyers would do that. But I'm convinced as well that Mohale is telling the truth as far as that is concerned, because they did show that document. Unless Showmax really was willing to show us a fake document, I feel like so far, I feel like that document was legit. I would think that Showmax would make sure before they show the show, and everything is verified. The producers will make sure that everything is verified. So yeah, that was the biggest shock for me, you guys. Another shock, not really a shock, but another thing that I understood better now that I watched that interview is the abuse allegation stuff, and also the Titimba, because I've never understood how Somizi had a falling out with Titimba when they were so close. So now I feel like I understand. I understand because Mohale explained it better. Titimba and Somizi had a secret, and when Chitimba revealed that secret, he felt betrayed by his friend because he was never supposed to reveal that secret. Anyway, you guys, that was the interview with Mohale. I'm glad that he got an opportunity to reply to everything that went on the show. It's such a great interview to listen to, you guys. So if you get an opportunity to watch it, do watch it for yourself, and also decide for yourself how you feel about it. For me, I'm comfortable with everything that he said, except for the fact that he said he didn't watch the show because it didn't make sense at the time. By the way, you guys, when it comes to the clothes, that's the thing that made me feel like, did you watch the show or did you not? Because he said that he had requested that he gets all of his clothes. So the interviewer asked him, so have you got all of your clothes? And he says, I got some of my clothes, but some of them, I don't have them yet. And the interviewer asked him, so the clothes that we saw on the last season of the show, Somizi packing in the boxes. I knew, guys. I think I even said in the review that those boxes are not going anywhere. It's just for the show. So he says he never got those boxes. He saw that, he says everything that Somizi is holding when he was putting in the box, I guess he could recognize that it's some of his stuff. But he says that all of those things that were being packed in the boxes have not been delivered to him. So he hasn't got them back yet. So yeah. Anyway, you guys. Also, the other thing that he doesn't clarify at the end, because obviously he gave they gave Somizi a letter saying he wants his clothes and whatever else he wants, and then they replied with a letter. So I don't know now that if now his lawyers have decided that they're going to go for the 50% because of the reply from Somizi's lawyers. I don't know that, but he just says, yeah, initially that's what he wanted. Anyway, you guys, it was a great interview. Watch it if you can. And yeah, but for now, tell me what you think about all of these things that I discussed today. And like the video before, Pumegiona, share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Ngimthanda kakhulu.